What's up YouTube, your boy ChasmRift here, and today we got ourselves another tier list video. First things first, this isn't a YouTube comeback tour, so just because I uploaded a bunch of videos recently doesn't mean I'm coming back to YouTube or I'm grinding. Just stuff I wanted to put out here because of recent events with me and Pokemon. And this guide, well, my bad, it's not a guide, it's just a tier list of the meta. We've been playing Sword and Shield for about 3.5 months so far, and about 3 months with the official VGC rule set. So this is pretty much just going to be me going over the top 50 Pokemon, and basically like the last format. Reason we're doing it now is because starting March 1st, Pokemon that are in the game data that weren't in the Galar deck, such as Incineroar, Venusaur, Alolan forms of Pokemon, they're going to become legal for VGC. So I want to just do a tier list on how I feel like the meta is shaped out, and what I think is strong, which I think is not so strong so far. And this is before, of course, Collinsville Regional, which is coming up, and I'm going to be attending. Wish me luck. And, you know, the meta has changed a lot considerably. The biggest component is that, well, obviously I didn't put down, on purpose, who was number 1 or number 50 on this list based on the CP rating so far. But the biggest component was, in the last tier list, there was a 3-way tie for the 50th place spot. This time the tier list is formed, it's shaped out, and now there's a clear cut 50th Pokemon, 51st, 52nd. So yeah, that just shows you that things have shaken up quite a bit since then. So of course this is just my opinion. This doesn't reflect on the actual meta, it's just based on how I played against these Pokemon, my thoughts on them, how I've seen them been played at other events. And of course, if Pokemon's not on this list doesn't mean that they're not, good. The big example would be Maractus. I think Maractus is a really a unique Pokemon. Now, I don't think it's going to be top tier that's going to win the Worlds, but if you guys seen my last video, Maractus put in work, so it shows that pretty much anything can work in VGC. Just gotta give it some effort. But I can't put every Pokemon on here. This list would be a couple hours long. So let's start this off. Scrafty S+++. For anybody who's been following me on Discord, so last time I did this, just put it up there, no explanation. This time, give a small one. Anybody been following me on Discord, you know that I've been competing at Premier Challenges and mid-season showdowns, and every time I went to one, Scrafty's put on some type of show. Scrafty's either contributed to the win by just getting a bunch of KOs, or being out there in the field became a strong threat and presence for the opponent. So Scrafty has solidified itself as being a top Pokemon, and it's always going to be a Pokemon I'm going to run throughout the season. So yeah, that's started off. Now let's just go in order. Actually, let's go in reverse order. I think that'd be a little bit more fun. We did first last time. Let's do reverse order. So Dragapult, I want to say it's A. I remember I got a lot of heat for putting it in B tier last time. I want to say it's an A tier Pokemon, but it also has S tier advantages. I think I'm just gonna be safe to put it at A tier. Really strong Pokemon, really great stats. It's really flexible. Could be run either physical or special. You can run it with a bulky variant. You can give it weakness policy. You can have it use ally switch, things like that. So in terms of the utility it has, I think it is S tier. However, because the meta has been shaping a lot and we've been seeing a lot more aggressive plays be made, I'm putting it at A tier because it can still be countered fairly well if you know how to handle it. Duraludon, I think I'm gonna put it at S. Controversial. I think it is S tier because Star Wars is still very strong, especially in this redirection meta that we got going on. People like to use ally switch, follow me. People like to use lightning rod, right, chew next to Gyarados, or people got Storm Draymons. Or just being able to bypass all the redirection and be able to put some strong damage into the opponent is really great, especially if you can do something like a fake tears, anything like that, or a helping hand for the Duraludon. You're steamrolling. Dracovish, I know it just popped up and it did some damage at the Oceania International Championships, but I think it's a B tier Pokemon, and the reason I'm saying that's because let's just look at some of the Pokemon that's on this list that I haven't even listed yet. Jellicent, Water Absorber. Gastrodon, Storm Drain. This thing right here, Lapras, Water Absorber. Of course, so the big thing is that everybody knows about Fisher's Rand with Choice Scarf or Choice Band. Of course, this isn't the only thing Dracovish could do, but people are finding ways to bypass it. People are running either Scary Face, people are using Prankster T-Waves, people are putting up you know, some type of tailwind. Some people are, it just feels like there's an easier way to counter Dracovish than the other ones. And I feel like his stock value has fallen down a bit since the meta has got a chance to, you know, breathe and think about itself. In DDD, wow, it's like I'm putting everything in order. I think it's C tier. I was pretty mean to it last time, I will admit that. I think I was being unfair. C tier because misty terrain mostly. You can redirect attacks with Follow Me, has Helping Hand. I just don't think it's the strongest, you know, component to have on the field. Like, it's really strong for Trick Room. I feel like if you have it for other reasons, it's not too great, if you're asking me. It's also not the strongest. Of course, it's indeed female. This is not the male one. If I put the male one, I think I put it at like B tier for just pure strength. Grimmsnarl, put him at B tier with the Dracovish. Grimmsnarl is really strong. The issue is like it's restricted to only 4 move slots. It has a bunch of great status moves and setups. It's a really big threat in like a best of 1 scenario because you don't know what's going to do. It could be running dual screens, it could be running swagger, it could be running, you know, T-Wave, it could be running, you know, trick with the eject button. Like, there's a bunch of things that like it could do. The downside is because it has so many good setup moves, typically you don't see that many offensive ones, and that's where it falls flat. I actually competed at this past, you know, Premier Challenge, and I won because I just completely ignored my opponent's Grimmsnarl. You know, they were setting up screens, they were doing their own thing, but once they set up the screens, it was like, okay, like they were trying to get damage off of me, but they didn't have many strong attacking moves. I think they had, what was it, like, they had a dark type move that I can't even remember, and they had Fake Out as well. So all I did was knock out their other 3, like I knocked out 2 other Pokemon, then I finally knocked out their Grimmsnarl because they used Hyper Beam on their Sylveon, and then I took care of the Sylveon the next turn while it was finishing recharging. So yeah, we'll get back to that story in a minute. But yeah, I just feel like Grimmsnarl's not that big of a threat in the best of 3 setting because you'll know what it's going to do and you can counteract accordingly to that. Hatterene, I'm gonna be generous. I'm gonna say it's A tier. Like, I feel like if you get the setup going forward with the Trick Room, it's a really strong Pokemon, especially Dynamaxed. So yeah, Corviknight, A tier as well. Mirror Armor, whatever the hell his ability is called, is pretty good to reflect, you know, stat drops because people love to cycle their Intimidates or Arcanine and, you know, the likes of Hitmontop. That's pretty strong. Also has Unnerve if you want to be that guy to just stop berry eating. And, you know, like, it's a pretty good Pokemon. Pretty bulky. Not the strongest in the world if you ask me, but hey, we'll make do. Mimikyu, don't know. It's A tier. You let it set up, and this is based on like my knowledge from Gen 7 and other people. I think I'm put it at B tier because Mold Breaker Excadrill is out there. People are, you know, level downing on anybody who has weird setups. I just don't think Mimikyu is that strong compared to like the Gen 7 meta. Passimian, this is an example starting from the bottom. Now we're here. Put it at the bottom, and then I was like, hey, you know, Passimian is stronger than I originally thought it would be because it does have Defiant. This thing with Assault Vest and Defiant, wow, it tears through metas, man. Like, Sajin Park was onto something when he first started using this thing. I believe it was Sajin who used it. So yeah, A tier for sure. Raquanet, not used much. Think it's an A tier mod as well. It's a good shutdown to Mudstell on the physical side. Plus, it has really good typing. It has Wide Guard if you're afraid of like dealing with rock slides or hyper voices or anything like that. So yeah. Mudsdale, I think it's fair to put it A tier. Like, if you ran the Mudsdale like outside of like pure max bulk, I think it's B tier or lower because it'd be fairly easier to knock out. But since you got own tempo and stamina, which are both versatile and good to use, I'll give it some leeway. Rabombi, yeah, we'll put it. I think here's the thing. It can hit hard. I used it before. You guys seen it in my Battle Stadium videos in the past. It's nice with the speed swap. The thing is, I actually battled somebody on like Showdown. They were about to use speed swap on their Snorlax, so I used Follow Me, and they speed swapped to my Togekiss. And my Togekiss was the fastest thing on the field and knocked out everything. I do think Rabumbi has a place in the meta because like it has good abilities, has good speed and everything, but it's just that it's so frail and it doesn't have like the best tools in the world to be a great offensive threat. So I'm just gonna put it at D tier. Hopefully I can rise it up on the ladder. I mean on this tier list later. We'll see. Alucha, I think it's overrated. I think people are really making too much of a fuss about it. Because like people run the Psychic Seed, get the Unburden boost, and then they Dynamax. Newsflash for you guys. Dynamax a Togekiss. You can't really do much to a Togekiss. Or run follow me and then delete it with your other Pokemons. Not that big of a threat. Sylveon. People are running a really bulky, slow Sylveon. Actually, it's slower than my Scrafty, which is why I put Scrafty S++. At one of my battles I had my Premier Challenge, I actually had the opportunity to potentially throat chop a Sylveon and stop it from using Hyper Voice, which would have been really baller. Didn't get the chance to do it, but you know, whatever. Put Sylveon B tier because Throat Spray Sylveon is actually pretty scary. Hydreigon. Wow, we have not put anything really in S tier since it's a Rallygon. Hydreigon A. This would definitely be S tier. If it has the stats very comparable to Dragapult. The only downside is this thing is time for Weak to Fairy. Other than that, this Pokemon would be like S tier casually, especially with Levitate. Like it could do some very steady. Durant, want to put it at B tier because I do think it's overrated, but I'm gonna give it A tier because if the opponent isn't properly prepared, this thing can run through them. Yeah, the reason I want to put it at like B tier personally because like Hustle is a bad ability. In fact, I battled somebody who once their Dynamax is up with their Durant and they were relying on Hustle, they ended up missing the Iron Head. But whatever, we'll put it at A tier just to put some. Nah, I'll put it at B tier. I can tell it's gonna be more A tier mons. Braviary, it does have Defiant, A tier. Basically everything I listed for Corviknight, same thing can be said for Braviary, except it has Defiant and not the other abilities of Corviknight. Shandy, you know what? I'm gonna be that guy. Put Chandelier at S tier. Energy Ball, you know, Ally Switch, Trick Room, and Prison, like really good moves there. Shadow Ball for coverage. Heat Wave. If you Dynamax this thing, it's gonna really take some hits surprisingly. So I give it the S tier ranking. This thing, wow, Ferrothorn has fallen from grace. If it's outside of a rain team, it's definitely D tier. I'm just gonna put it at C because you know, feel bad. Jellicent. You know what? Yeah, I'll put Jellicent at S. It has two good abilities in Water Absorb and Curse Body. Curse Body is the more annoying one to deal with because there's RNG involved there. Water Absorb is really strong. You know how to play well with it, which I was able to do, thankfully. String Sap, which is, that move is disproportional in how it works. I use String Sap on a Gyarados, and we're like at 40 HP. You String Sap, we got all the way back to full HP. Like, why? Like, I hope they nerf that in the future. I don't think String Sap should be that strong. Vanillux, A tier, for sure. You know, people, you know, shat on Hail teams. People say like, oh, Hail teams ain't that good. People are saying like, damn, I can't use Alolan Ninetales yet, and I'm stuck with Vanillux. I'm like, you know, Fairy typing that Alolan Ninetales bring you doesn't really help you out. Like, besides like what, being a strong counter to fighting types, like everything else, Vanillux can do the same thing as Ninetales. Just it's also cooler. Plus, other people are starting to use it in unique ways. Gossitail, I mean, I don't want the A tier to be too fleshed out, but I think B tier would be undeserving for Gossitail. I'll put it at S. Fake Out, Helping Hand, really annoying to deal with. Has Competitive, which can also be used as like a nice little baiting switch, especially like a best of one scenario. And it also has Shadow Tag, which this thing gets you a Shadow Tag, you're kind of screwed if you have the wrong leads, because they're just gonna keep you in there. Their partner Pokemon is gonna do what they want to do, and you're gonna have a bad time. Pythagoras, B tier. It's like middle of the pack in terms of how to set up with Trick Room, if you ask me. I do think it's really strong. I do like that I actually battled one, funny enough, in the this past Saturday. It was pretty interesting. I think it's middle of the pack in terms of its utility, because there are other Pokemon that have the same things, and you can argue that they're more versatile. But you know, don't want to disrespect it. All right, Darmanitan. It hits hard, but I feel like there's too many counters to this thing. I was gonna put it at C, but I'm like, wait, no. This thing can easily be countered if you have a good team composition. So we're gonna put it at D tier. It can be annoying with the flinches, but that's about it. Whimsicott, it's falling from grace too. It's not that it's a bad Pokemon or there's ain't better alternatives. It's just that the meta, the way it's formed, you really don't need Whimsicott out there, especially since now we got like the access to, you know, Liepard and Meowstic with their Prankster abilities. The supply and demand for Prankster has shifted, and the long run demand curve for Whimsicott has fallen down a bit because of that. Conk, I think it's an A tier Mon, especially like in a 1v1 against a Togekiss. I think it's S tier because it is so versatile. It's actually kind of scary. So you can either run this thing with Guts, you know, Flame Orb, and just do your thing there, or you give it Iron Fist, AV, and then just bank on your punches just getting you a dub. You Dynamax this thing, you are a horrible person, and I hope you burn in hell. Other than that, it's a pretty good Pokemon. Excadrill, easy S, like a really easy S. Like, funny enough, I went to the mid-season showdown. I had a Sand Force, not Sand Rush Excadrill. I do think that kind of matters, especially in one of my close losses I had. But, you know, I think it's funny that this Pokemon is really good. It counters a good chunk of the meta, and when it's next to a T-Tar or anything except Sand, it becomes just that. It became that dude. It's that dude, for real. Alright, the Rotoms. Alright, I'm going to go in order from the best Rotoms all the way down to the worst. So I think Rotom Mo is actually S tier. Like, I remember I put them all like an A. I think Rotom Mo is definitely like the best of the three, because these other two, they get walled down pretty hard by the likes of Gastrodon and, you know, Jellicent, and also to a degree Lapras. I actually seen somebody at the Oceania International Championship that had a Rotom Wash, and they were staring down a Gastrodon and an Excadrill. For those who don't understand what's going to happen is, Rotom Wash typically carries its typing specialty move, and electric type move. Those are almost guaranteed to be 2 of the 4 moves that Rotom carry. Just so happened those were the only 2 attacking moves it had. So if it went for a Hydro Pump, the Rotom Wash would Hydro Pump and Storm Ram activate for Gastrodon, making it immune. And both of them are, Excadrill and Gastrodon, are immune to electric type moves. So yeah, Rotom kind of got completely walled there. Rotom Heat, not too far behind. I think Rotom Wash is slightly stronger because, you know, you don't get stat drops after using your moves. Of course, people are starting to use Nasty Plot and then Dynamax their Rotom the next turn. But nonetheless, I still think Rotom is the best out of the 3. Rotom Wash is middle of the pack, except when battling Water Absorb Mons of some degree. And then Rotom Heat, you know, it's a good, I'll say it's a good counter against the likes of like Togekiss. Which, speaking of which, S, this thing is great when I battle with the use of Serene Grace. This thing was great when I battled with using its Super Luck, and the meta has revolved around it, and I don't see this thing slowing down anytime soon because I already ran some calcs. This thing is here to stay for a while. Rhyperior, actually, I think it's fallen down a bit, a couple rungs. If you deny Trick Room or you deny Sand, this thing is not as powerful as it looks. Or if the opponent just didn't Dynamax it, it's not really going to eat those hits. Lucario, same thing. If you take away their main component, for Lucario to be beat up into a Dynamax, if you take away the beat up portion of it, Lucario's not that strong. Or if you outspeed it, you could also potentially get an Oko with it, you know, Max Flare or something. Don't think Lucario is that strong. Okay, cool. Damn, I thought we was at 30 minutes right now. We're not. This thing, I'm putting at D tier. I think it's actually the worst out of the Trick Room setters right now. The reason I'm saying that is because, like, we're starting to see more and more Mold Breaker come out. If you want to run like Hypnosis on it, people are smart, got more smarts, you know, using Max Lightning prior. And, you know, like, I just feel like Bronzong doesn't hit hard enough to justify having it out there as a Trick Roomer. At least with the likes of, like, you know, Dusclops, you guarantee damage to 50. With Nightshade, people are using it to run Bulldoze next to the Rhyperior, activate the weakness policy. Like, I feel like there's just slightly more utility there. And then, like I said, Hatterini, you can Trick Room and then Dynamax it, or same for like Mimikyu. Those are going to be two strong threats inside a Trick Room. And then of course there's Jellicent, which is like the best Trick Roomer out of all of them, if you ask me. Okay, Gastrodon, right there in C tier. I'm happy to admit that like I became a much better player ever since I learned how to counter this thing. By countering that thing, I mean use Rotom-Mow. I forgot to tell you guys the funny story. So yeah, I battled somebody. They had Grimmsnarl and Sylveon. On my side, I had a Rotom-Mow and a T-Tar. They decided to set up a screen. I figured they would, so I decided to Nasty Plot. The next couple turns later, they try to knock out my Rotom with their Grimmsnarl. Doesn't work, and they go for a Hyper Beam onto my. They went for a pixelated Hyper Beam onto my T-Tar. Knocked out my T-Tar. So my Rotom, which was at +2, I used that opportunity to just Leaf Storm the Grimmsnarl and damn near OHKO it. Well, it had damage on it, that's why I said damn near OHKO. But I got the KO. The Sylveon had to recharge. Next turn, my Rotom outsped because it's faster. Went for another Leaf Storm, and despite there being a screen up, took about 60% off of the Sylveon, got the KO. I won that match. So yeah, Rotom I would say is pretty good. You know, Rotom put some numbers on the board for me. Dusclops, put it at B tier. It's not an offensive threat. Like, if you lose to, like, if you're up 2-1 against the opponent and the only Pokemon is Dusclops and you still lose, you 100% deserve that loss. Like, there's just no way this thing is, like, offensively present. It's really good for, like, setting up utility. Of course, like, every Pokemon on this list isn't based on, like, how hard it can hit you. Every Pokemon is based on their setups, how valuable their setups are, how consistent they be in their roles. I feel like Dusclops is middle of the pack for sure, but you know, like, eventually you're gonna have to battle with it. You know, if you're bringing it out there, a lot of people sometimes even consider it to be like a, oh hey, it's really a 3v4 because Dusclops isn't gonna hit that hard. And if that's your categorization, I think you're not the best in the world at what you're doing, man. Torkoal, B tier. You know, like, really Charizard's taking over when it comes to the Sun teams, because you kind of gotta do a lot to cater to Torkoal, or not. And if you don't cater to Torkoal, then you're risking a lot happening to it. But it's still a very strong Pokemon. Pelipper, C tier. I want to say Ludicolo is B because it can, you know, still do things outside of rain. Just that rain makes it really strong. So I think that's my justification. T-Tar is S tier. Oh my god. Let this thing get a weakness policy activation and the Dynamaxes, you're pretty much gonna win. Like, it's really hard to stop a T-Tar once it gets setting, once it gets going. Trust me, I know. Him on top is trash. I want to put it at D tier. I'm putting it at C because it has Intimidate. It does have access to like Quick and Wire Guard, but no one really uses it. People are running it with the eject button. So like, yeah, people are only using just to cycle Intimidates. Like I said, if you're like a one-trick pony, you're only there for like disrupting things, and you're not there to like actually, you know, be a competent team member. I feel like your stock value is low in my eyes. Here's the big one, in many ways. Snorlax. I remember I put Snorlax as S tier, especially with the G-Max coming out. But funny enough, competing at tournaments, I never really battled G-Max Snorlax yet. In fact, nothing people on Showdown battling with it either. I think it's a B tier mon. If you get the setup going, to be strong. The thing is, it's pretty easy to stop its setup. You know, if it's switching in, it's potentially switching into a lot of damage. And, you know, if they go for Belly Drum, just throw everything at it. You know, like, if it gets 33% berry off, throw everything at it. Just the next turn, if it Dynamaxes, one of those two Pokemon are going to, like, not get hit by it. Just throw everything at it. Trust me, you knock out Snorlax. It's not as scary as I initially thought it would be. Lapras, A tier. You know, like, in terms of bulk, it's an S tier mon for sure. In terms of like overall versatility, it's kind of like a one-trick pony. It's very annoying to battle against because people are just gonna spam life do. But I'm not gonna knock that on it. Gyarados, A tier by itself, S tier with a Raichu next to it, and yeah, pretty self-explanatory. Like, if you guys seen the early meta or kept tabs on it, Gyarados, you do not want the Dynamax to start getting setups. Arcanine, I'll give it S tier because it has great abilities. They hit hard, and wow, I just realized my Milotic is not in the top 50. Wow, it seemed like 1 in every 3 matches I battled against on Showdown and in person, I battled a Milotic, but it's not in the top 50. So for sure then, on this list, Arcanine is definitely S tier. Vileplume, get this trash out of here. Trash. No, banking on sleep powders is just not cash money. Raichu, B tier. It provides a lot of support, especially next to water types. It's just that, you know, like, once you see one Raichu, you've seen them all. Butterfree, I'll give it C tier, especially since they're most likely talking about G-Max Butterfree, not just regular one. And I still think G-Max Butterfree has potential in this meta. In fact, it just won the international championships in the junior division. Really good Pokemon. It has upside, but I think once we get more G-Maxes in the game, like that's legal, I think it's probably not going to be in the top 50 anymore. That's just my personal opinion. And then Charizard, I'll put it S because you can do Solar Power, you can do Battle Stadium Cheese and run Solar Power G-Max Charizard, just do regular Charizard. Depending on how you want to run it. If you're doing the Aaron Trailer Charty Berry Charizard, that's going to be powerful. If you're doing Solar Power, go next to a Whimsicott, you're almost guaranteed to outspeed everything. So, yeah, that's just my opinion. So, like I said, I'm going to have a link down below for anybody who wants to check out the tier list. These are just my thoughts and opinions. If you guys got anything you want to share, just let me know in the comments down below. If you also want to use this tier list to make your own, do it. Just link it to me like on Twitter or something, and I'll definitely check it out. Give you my thoughts and opinions. But yeah, this is what I think of the meta before we finally transition over to Incineroar and Venusaur coming in and shaking things up for sure. Anyway, guys, I'm about to get out of here. Gates fell open. I guess I gotta close them. So bye.